Good afternoon, friends and family. This is Sharon Herbert coming to you from Power in Nursing. Today I am taking a shortcut. This is a shortcut to power, and I have a message for you I really needed to share today. And I want to tell you yes, it's me. That's the subject of today, and welcome to Shortcut to Power. I wanted to share quickly a little bit about and my story and my quest to currently create and produce a book anthology. Short version. Many of you have heard the story that I've wanted to be a nurse since I was 5 years old, and that is absolutely true. I became a registered nurse. I worked in pediatrics in neonatal care for more than 25 years, and I continue to learn and grow, and that's a gift for me. I got my master's degree and I actually started my own small business and started helping organizations create their policies and procedures and accreditation responses for home health care and other healthcare small businesses. So that's now I'm into the 2023, and a lot has happened in between. In 2018, I was working my own small business, working with home care organizations. The Joint Commission was coming to do a survey for that company. And so, me as the director, contracted director, and consultant, well, I had to review everything and make sure everything was in order. Most of the work that needed to be done, I had to do because there was no other nurse in the office and the admin folks really didn't know what I needed. Long story short, as the time went on, I was working part-time, but when Joint Commission came, I had to pick up some more hours. And that led me to working more, and more, and taking care of myself less, and less. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was staying up late and working on this Joint Commission project. And in February, at the first week in February, by the end of the week, I was so tired. I didn't know what to do. But I had to keep going, as I say, one more thing. Well, I'm going to see you all again on the other side of that one more thing. When you think, okay, I can just do it, I do everything, I know how to do all of this stuff, and it can be okay. Well, I'm going to tell you this: when you don't take care of yourself, it most often is not okay. And we as nurses take care of everyone else, most often first. And, well, what do they tell you on that airplane flight for the safety measures? Put on your oxygen mask first, and then you help others. You know that you can't help others if you are sick, ill, chronically ill, or dead. You really can't. So you need to know self care is so important. And back to my story. In 2018, at the end of that horrible week of so many hours not taking care of myself, it just ultimately came to a crash. I had a stroke. Now here I am. I have this big giant project that I have to do, and I had the stroke. My family found me in my kitchen floor. Time in the morning on Sunday, I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I could barely talk. I didn't know what was happening. And I said, oh, you know how we do. I'll be okay. Just, let me sleep it off. Well, they took me to the hospital. They didn't call 911 because I said no. So they took me to the hospital, and the doctor did a workup, and I had a X-ray, and I had a CT scan. And the doctor came back, and they started drawing blood, and he says to me, well, Miss Herbert, we're going to have to admit you today. And I said, "What? Admit me? I can't be admitted." In my mind is what I was saying. I was like, "Huh?" And I'm like looking at them with the question mark in my eyes. And they finished the sentence and said, "You have had a stroke and you're going to be admitted to the ICU." Now, first, my brain, I'm telling you, my heart and everything stopped. And I was like, I have work to do. I have stuff to do. I can't be in a hospital. And they said, "Well, ma'am, you're going to be admitted." And I was. And I just laid in that bed in that ICU. I couldn't believe where I was because I'm a nurse and I knew that I should be eating, drinking, sleeping, taking care of myself, having a physical, taking medications that were prescribed for me because I had hypertension. Well, when I got to that ICU, my blood pressure was sky high. I mean, they tried to give me medication to manage the hypertension. It would not work. And I wound up having to have strong seizure medication because they could not get my blood pressure down. In the meantime, I can't walk. I can't hardly think. I had to have some assessments, and one of the questions they asked me was, what day it was and who was the president. I I could not answer any of that. And here, the day before, I'm thinking, I got to do this Joint Commission thing. But my story is for you. It is not for me. It is for me to tell you, you have got to take care of yourself. Now, I have never told this story out loud before because of the perilous fear of someone thinking I was less than, that I was weak and I was careless. And that's not the moral of this story. This morning, I went to church, and that's not a new thing for me. But today was a new message. Because God has prepared for me and put me in this place where I can speak. Brain power is sometimes a little shaky because I have a brain injury. And I'm telling you that. I'm not afraid to tell you that. You don't know what can happen to you when you don't take care of yourself. And who's going to take care of your family when you are in the ICU or when you have died? Don't, don't, don't let your life get out of control or controlled by some other entity, escapade, scenario, job, workplace. You've got to take care of you. I wound up in the ICU for a week and a half. And then I had to have rehab, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and it was weeks, 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 and then it turned into months that I could not work as a nurse. Now, I don't know what you all think about not being able to work as a nurse, but even though all of my physical capacity or incapacity showed me that I couldn't work, I didn't know what I would do with my life. I couldn't be a nurse because now I have this brain injury that, oh my gosh. And by the way, I was also a risk manager prior to this. And I knew that it would be dangerous for me to care for any patient if it were to come that I messed up with the decimal points for a medication. No, that was not going to happen to any other person on this earth by my hand. And I had to convince the neurologist to let me look at the scan, and he showed me the areas of injury, and then he set me surely for speech therapy, which also encompasses your brain function. So, and your memory. So, those things were hindrances. But, I was a nurse, so I said, yeah, I know. I had a struggle even going to the neurologist's office. I couldn't open the door. And you all are like, well, okay, so you couldn't open the door. No, 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 no. You've opened many, many doors in your life. I could not remember or figure out if the door opened in or out, if you push or pull. And that was not a joke. I was paralyzed in my thoughts of, oh my gosh, maybe this is really real. And now what am I going to do? I can't sing or dance. You all know that. I've said that before. I can't sing or dance. What am I going to do with my life? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to get my kids back and forth to school, do grocery shopping, do any of the things that I have been doing for more than 20 years? And it came to me that my place and space in the healthcare world was not going to be the same. And that's why I say today, yeah, today, this is me. Before, I was a robust practitioner, clinician, educator, risk manager, legal nurse consultant, faculty. Yes, all of those roles I served. And now I can't do any of those. I had also set my journey to complete a doctoral degree. And I was one course short of completing that degree when I had that stroke. And because I thought, oh, I'm good, I'm superwoman. Even though I can't open the door, I know how to do this doctoral thing. Well, that didn't work. It didn't work. I wasn't able to capture and document the content of my study and do the statistical research. That was the last moment that I thought that I would be able to do this, that this wasn't real and it was just something that would pass by. And it did not pass by. By December of that same year, I gave up my adventure to a doctoral degree. There was no way I could complete the work that was necessary. But my faith kept me on the ground, even though I'm going to tell you all, I had some suicidal ideations, because what can you do when you have 3 kids to feed, bills to pay, you can't drive, you can't get around and back and forth for your daily things that you always did? But God, but God, in December, He sent me an email from a long ago colleague and friend who invited me to an adventure, a new journey. I had been at the top of the hill, plus 6-figure income, all the things that I wanted to do, and now I have nothing. God said, your friend here is going to ask you a question. And after the friend said, well, how are you doing? I haven't touched base with you in a long time. I cried already, because being at home for more than 6 months pretty much alone. My kids had to go to school the places they had to go. My husband had to go the places he had to go. And I was at home because I didn't have any place to go. It was tragic for me. It was the darkest, darkest days of my life to know that here I am alone and I can't practice in the profession that I have loved since I was 5 years old. It was dark and very, very long, and I couldn't find any answers. I've always been the answer person in my family and in my job. Oh, I love doing that Joint Commission accreditation responses. I always had answers, and now I had none. And I cried every day. And then God sent me my friend who also acknowledged that she hadn't seen me in a while. She didn't know why. But she said, I'm starting this new program and I wondered if you would be interested. It was a speaking program, how to become a public and or motivational speaker. And I thought, well, you know what, God? I wonder if this is what you are sending for me. Because I struggled and tried to do it my way and go back to finish my doctoral degree because I wanted to be in the C-suite and be able to promote the goodness, brilliance of nursing and to make sure we were cared for and not piled on with stress, salary issues, and long hours. But I couldn't do that without that finishing that doctoral degree. And so I said to my friend, well, tell me more. And as she did, and I had regained my speech, but sometimes the memory was a little, what day is this? And sometimes I don't even know if it's just the memory from the stroke, because maybe some people will acknowledge this as well. Once you're not working every day, you can kind of lose track of time because it's not important to you to get up at 5 a.m. on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday because you're not working. But I joined my friend with the speaker program, and one of the things that we did was reach out and meet people, which is something good. Communication is a positive when you're at home doing rehab, stress management, etc., etc., and you're all alone. You're all alone. And we started working on a book project that we shared our stories. And when I talked to my friend about my story, she said, oh my goodness, you've got to help people. You've got to tell them what your story is so that they can be safe from pitfalls. If you don't take care of yourself, there are going to be many pitfalls. And be safe in the workplace and at home. And so that was my first journey into now Power in Nursing Innovations. My goal, my love of nursing will never wane, never wane. And I asked God, so what am I supposed to do now? I can't be a nurse. He said, you'll tell your story to save another nurse. You'll tell your story. You'll write it. You'll shout it. You'll sing it. You'll pray about it. You'll ask for help to get this thing going. And many years later, as I have struggled through the business aspect of getting the components together to build a small business for speaking and coaching nurses. And I call it nurse life coaching because no one knows what we go through. Now, there are many folks with their own career paths that have their own experiences, but ours in practice is often connected to a workplace or a scenario that you don't often have control over. The hours you work, the schedule, the staffing shortages, the overtime, the patient load, the patient chronic illnesses and emergencies, the traumas, the shootings. It's all overwhelming. And who can you talk to about the trauma that you are undergoing? You work your 12 hours. You don't get relief. You work 2 more hours. Nope, you work 4 more hours. That's 16 hours without a good break, without lunch, without breakfast, without potty time. It's overwhelming. Oh, in the days of yore, we had one patient in the ICU. I worked in the neonatal intensive care. If we had a patient that was on the ventilator, we had one patient. And most of the world had a similar scenario. There were times when you'd have two, but the other might be more stable. But there were no days when you had three or more ventilator patients, one maybe having surgery in the ICU with no assistance. Your charge nurse is running around because now there's an admission. We're all perched on the edge of the ledge. COVID comes along and puts us in places and spaces that nurses never knew before. Nurse leaders, healthcare leaders never knew before either. So, overwhelm on top of overwhelm on top of overwork on top of trauma. Now, in the 3 years later, next week is February, will mark 3 years of COVID. And nurses are still being stressed and overwhelmed because COVID isn't over. Now, maybe it doesn't quite always qualify in every land, city, country as a pandemic, but now we've had children with RSV. Now we've had the flu. Now we've had more variants of COVID. Now children also having strep A. And in 3 years, how many of those same nurses that started in the COVID scenario are still working in those same workplaces? Many have left because of the overwhelmed. Many have hit the retirement season because many of the numbers of nurses in ICUs specifically, because people wind up staying in those places long times as they are committed to their practice. Well, they were baby boomers and it's time to retire. On the flip side, you have schools of nursing whose faculties may have been ill, may also work part-time as a registered nurse in a practice, and maybe they've contracted COVID and they're sick and they have to leave. Now the schools of nursing don't have enough faculty to train, educate more nurses. And we don't have a cure for COVID. So the big ball of overwhelm has affected the potential for solutions for care and services for the COVID pandemic. Now, many of us also have left because of other reasons. Chronic illnesses because we haven't cared for ourselves. Back injuries for nurses that work 16 and 16 and 16 and then they're at 80 hours a week. Foot illnesses. Many illnesses have befallen nurses over the course of the pandemic, and some of those cannot be changed. We can't go backwards. I can't take this stroke away. And I can't practice. That's one more person, nurse, that can't practice to help with the solutions to this mounting pandemic and trauma to nurses and to the system. Now we are stuck in places where nurses are running the hamster wheel. There's still shootings. Now people are shooting in hospitals. When did that really happen before? Mass shootings are taking place that also affect the capacity of the healthcare system to provide care and service. So there's all of these things. And to me, as I look each and every day, my goal is to save a nurse. If I can save a nurse a day, one day, keep them from jumping off the ledge, committing suicide, this is not a joke. And for me, if I can let you know that today might not be the brightest day, but it's up to us to work together to help nurses not have to have such horrible outcomes of the trauma that they have undergone in the workplace. We've got to do that. We've got to not ignore it and let your colleague clock out because they're taking a break or take an extra long break and you don't know where they are, and then you find that they're in the stairwell and they have committed suicide. That is not a good place for that person to have been, but for you and your colleagues to be. And in the world of the COVID pandemic, people called us, yes, healthcare heroes. Healthcare heroes. I was working doing QA right before, doing it part-time as I came back to being able to do some of the work that I had done before, but no highly complex information was I completing. So when folks come now looking for answers to ask their supervisors or their leaders if they could have the day off, if they can switch and not work every Friday, if they can work 10 hours instead of 12, or if they can work part-time, the answers were very hard to get. Your leaders were stressing as well. And we have to look out for each other to let your colleagues and even those persons who are in school and looking at the clinical sites and seeing the stress in their colleagues or soon to be colleagues, or seeing that no one could help them when they're in their clinical rotation, it's a bad day. We've got to reach out to each other. And long story short for me, as I looked to see that as we're approaching the 3 year of COVID, towards the end of 2022, I started seeing in the news less clapping for nurses and more complaining. Workplace violence was up, Nurses were getting spit on, stabbed, shot, and being, almost felt like lepers. You go to the grocery store with your scrubs on after after work because you need to pick up something for dinner because you've been eating fast foods all week long because you worked all those 16 hours, and people move back. More than social distancing, I mean like 12, 20 feet, and they look at you like, ew, oh, I don't want to be over there. So you feel like a leper. People don't want to get near you or ask, do you need any help? Because they think, oh, I don't want to be near that person. You then get home and your kids are in bed and you don't get to see them, or you stay in your car for an hour crying about your day, and you don't want anyone in your house to see you doing that. You don't want your kids to ask you questions. You don't want your kids to see how frazzled you are because they love you. And you don't have an answer to your own misery. You're only used to creating answers for your patients because that's what we do as we solve problems. Now, who's going to solve the problems for you to keep you grounded? And mental health matters. And I can tell you later my own story. I told you I was so close to the ledge when I could not practice and I had nothing else that I thought I could do. And God said, you're still able to talk. And today I talk more and more about my love for nursing because I find that it's a way to, of course, emulate self-love. We've got to love ourselves, like putting on that oxygen mask. You can't think that you are weak and powerless and you want to hide because you don't want anyone to see you that way. Find help. Take help. Don't wait for help to come your way and knock on your door. You've got to acknowledge your pain and your stress and the disruptions in your life and get help. And then you tell that story. Tell the story to your colleagues, to the world, to the schools of nursing, so that those folks who have not been where you are, that you have made it through, that you've made it through and you didn't give up, and that you got help, and they can too. We have to ask for help. There is going to be someone in your world that has been through this scenario. Even if you're a new grad, and yes, your unit is really busy, you're going to find someone, and it might not even be in your unit. It might be at the grocery store, at the library. You never know. Who has a story to tell you about how they helped a new grad as a preceptor take their steps forward on the road to success. It's not easy. No, success is not easy. And every problem that you have is not going to go away if you ignore it. You've got to face the facts. Facts. Face the facts. And we're out here, nurses, coaches, mentors, leaders. Ask them for help. My story is to help you and your colleagues, new grads, people in crisis, to know that someone cares. I've been there. I've been in a place where I was in the darkest days of my life. But each and every day that I talk to a nurse and we can smile or laugh about our communication, our relationships, and our steps to success, helping each other because I learned from you as well, and reaching out to others who are in the dark place. It is a great awakening. It is a return to days of yore when nurses were family. We cared for each other. We had parties for each other, and we helped each other along the way. And it's not too late today for change. It's not too late to make an impact on the future of nursing. Because surely during the pandemic, something has changed with you about your experiences, your fear, your practice, your thoughts about the future of nursing. There are lots of things that have changed, and nursing is still in crisis. But being in crisis is not just a one day thing. And being in crisis and making a change for one day is not sufficient to support the change and the transformation of nursing and nursing practice and nursing future. Transformation. We have to address the solutions to our problems, staffing shortages, extra workload, less time off, less sleep, less healthy foods. Those things are going to put a damper on your life expectancy as a nurse. We've got to work together to support each other. Together, we have to support each other. That is one of the premises of the nursing anthology. Now, I know people say, oh, well, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to participate in that. I'm going to tell you, you get to decide, of course, what you want to do. The goal for the anthology is to support the profession of nursing, promote retention and recruitment of folks who understand who we are and what we do for real, because they see your story and they are ready to join the parade and the journey to healthcare success for themselves, for you, your patients, and the public, and especially the healthcare system. It's got a lot of wrinkles, but we have some solutions. Let's work together. Each of us are brilliant in our own right. We solve problems every day. You can't solve the problem by running away from the problem. Let's work together to share our stories about moving forward, success, things you've created. I know, yes, that nurses have created their own gowns. Now, that wasn't the optimal practice. But if you have no gowns, you have no PPE. You can't risk exposing yourself to the virus or the variants. So some nurses made gowns out of trash bags. Well, no, that's not the optimal, but we are also creators to solve problems. We have to return to working together and promoting our own creations and solutions and share them with the system leaders. We've got great ideas, And as I sat in my time I spoke with God today, He said, Sharon, I don't care if it takes you 45 minutes or an hour to get the courage to tell the story of the future for nursing and where we all together can create an impact and a change on the system and transformation in our mindsets and our practice. There are so many avenues in the rural parts of our states where patients or persons aren't seen because they live so far from a healthcare provider or organization. In the pandemic, there was lockdown. People weren't getting healthcare services. There are so many things that we have done well in the past. Home healthcare services, independent practices for nurse practitioners, so many things that we have done well. Let's share that with the community. Let them know that we're here and what we can do to promote wellness in their communities. We can continue to do sessions about wellness in our community, in our public health clinics, in our churches, in our libraries. We can do these things, reminding people to get their vaccines, wash their hands, cover their coughing, and to mind the latest news about the variants, and to watch their own health and the health of those in their families. So I am looking forward. Again, it doesn't matter to me what your political strategies are, your denomination, your race, your color, your creed, any of that. We've got a work to do. God has put us here to watch over the patients that the healthcare system doesn't see. Maybe we see them in their homes. Maybe they haven't gotten to the doctor in 3 years because they're afraid to get on the bus and they don't have money for a cab or Uber. Maybe we're here for more than giving a shot. We are here to help folks understand how the community can be healthier, and we can help them along the way. Information is power, and we've got to do these things together. There are more doctors now who are finding that they're stressed and burning out as well. So we have to take the requisite steps, and this is a place and space for our nurse practitioners and our DNP leaders to look at the framework of the health system and see how nurses who are maybe working out of their homes or working and wanted to have a part-time slot, they don't want to work in the ICU 5 days a week, how we can fill in some of the blanks and facilitate better practices in our community to help people stay healthier. Now, these are the things I think about. 2:30 in this morning, I was awake. And I said, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do today? And he did not hesitate to tell me, I don't want you to give up on this assignment. This assignment, Sharon, that I gave you. to help nurses every day. Save a nurse's life, help them be healthier physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You have my permission, God said, to stay focused on this assignment. And even though the days are hard and I struggle through explaining why, I never give up on the assignment. God says to me today, don't give up. I put you in this place and space this morning at New Samaritan Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. to find out what I am saying to the world, and it's directly related to what I'm saying to you. I want you, Sharon, to get out here, write a book, stand on a stage, and tell the world of nurses how important they are, how irreplaceable, how valuable, and it is beyond the capacity of any health system to function without nurses. Absolutely impossible. We are the cog in that wheel that drives it. Let's take our places and spaces and hear the words that God wants us to say and to share with our patients, Patients, and our colleagues in the healthcare system, and those who are yet to become patients. Everyone doesn't have to be a patient. Some good practices like washing your hands can really be a benefit in the steps to your wellness. So I will share that with you again today. Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. We preach what we practice, and we've got to practice what we preach. Be well, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sharon Herbert coming to you from Power in Nursing Innovations. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And really, this story is real. It can affect real people's lives and people that you haven't even met yet. I will not give up on helping nurses each day be the best that they can be and live their own best lives. We have to grow, and we have to grow forward in helping our community know who we are and how we can help them through this pandemic, through this flu, through this RSV, strep A, and on and on. Let them understand who we are and what we do, and how we can be a benefit in partnership with those who just maybe didn't want to get their feet wet by going out to the doctor, or their provider has retired or passed on. We can't let that environmental issue stop what we are here to do. I love you guys. This is all I can say. Let's move forward, move forward, move forward. We have new programs, and we are going to be successful in the assignment that has been created. There are more new assignments for BSNs and beyond, and for public and motivational speaking. There's a lot of work to do. But we're not afraid of hard work. Never have been, and never will be. Thank you so, so much. And I love each and every one of you. I pray for the group of nursing, and I call group family, the family of nursing every day. We shall overcome. Be well, and I'll talk to you next time on the Power Shortcut. Bye bye now.